webinar.
Ну, мы пока еще не прощаемся насчет
We're
да,
not saying goodbye to
Златина.
you.
Мы с ними связались, к
Well,
сожалению.
we are in touch with
Очень
Zisman and
повезли,
Zlatin, but we do
не
apologize.
смогли организовать,
We failed
доклад
to
Бориса Злотина и Аллы Зусман.
contact to
А,
reach them, so they are not
Приношу
going
свои
to
извинения насчет...
present today. We do apologize for
Мы
that.
свяжемся с ними отдельно и
We are going to be in touch with them,
посмотрим, что тут можно
and
сделать.
we'll see what we can do.
Но у нас не завершение пока еще
Anyway, it's not the end of our work.
двухдневного вебинара. Саймон, у нас запланировано
Simon,
подведение итогов.
we
Это вебинар,
also
значит,
save some
10-15
time
минут,
for
5 минут.
summarizing for we
Я не
have
знаю,
still more
да. И
5, 10, 15
я бы
minutes, I don't
предложил
know.
вначале
And probably
дать возможность высказаться
we
нашим
shall give the
коллегам,
opportunity
которые
to speak out to our
очень
colleagues
внимательно слушали,
who are
участвовали в
very
дискуссии,
attentive
задавали
listeners,
вопросы.
very attentive participators.
И, ну,
They were asking their
есть
questions in the
реакции,
course of
да,
these 2 days. We see some reactions.
организаторам,
We
да,
see
очень
that there are the words
огромное спасибо.
to the
Не
organizing
забывайте
committee,
про
the words
переводчиков,
of
которые
gratitude. Of course, we also have
нам очень
interpretation into
помогают
English, and we have
переводить.
our English speaking
Ну,
audience.
насколько у
This
нас
is not
есть
the
время
first
по поводу
time.
переводчиков,
Anyway,
я
we have some
полностью, так сказать,
time, and I
присоединяюсь к
remember
спасибо и хочу сказать, что
that we have
переводить
interpreters, and I would like to
конференции
mention that
трейдовские–
when
это
we
отдельные
interpret trees
муки. И в связи с
conferences,
этим хочу
this
вспомнить
is that
давний
requires
эпизод.
courage.
Вы
And I
знаете, есть такой
remember
мастер
one
trees
funny
Михаил
moment
Шестерман, по-моему,
from
здесь
our life.
присутствует.
Да,
You,
есть, да,
oh no,
Михаил.
Mikhail
Вот.
writes, and
И вот
Mikhail is with
однажды,
us, Mikhail
значит, он
Schusterman.
выступал
And
на
once
конференции
he
с
participated in the
переводом на английский
conference,
язык.
as there was
И, как
also
всегда, мастер
simultaneous
Шестерман
interpretation into
рассказывал
English. And
про
as usual,
обучение
he was
детей,
talking
например,
about training, about kids' educational
вот. И,
programs,
значит, он
and
долго
he
рассказывал про
was
то, как
speaking
колобок
about some Russian fairy
решает
tales,
всякие
traditional
изобретательские задачи.
characters,
А я сижу рядом с
how
этим
a
переводчиком
character
и слышу,
from the fairy
как
tale,
переводчик
Colobok,
пытается
was inventing
перевести
things, and I remember how the
колобок на английский
interpreter
язык.
was
Я
trying to
слышу, значит,
interpret
текст
into
английского
English and explain to the English
специалиста.
speakers who
Вот, значит,
Colobok is.
катится круглый хлеб
Is
с глазами и
and
сарафан.
it was a kind of
Вот,
a round
значит,
bread with the
англоязычные
eyes and the
слушатели
mouth, and the
ничего не
English-speaking
понимают, что
listeners,
же за
they
круглый
failed to
хлеб с глазами.
understand a thing about
И
these
бедный несчастный
round
переводчик
breads. And
пытается как-то, так
I
сказать,
felt so sorry
перевести.
for the
А так я очень
interpreter
тяжело
because it was
переводить
very
шутки и
tough.
анекдоты. Так что
And
большое
jokes,
спасибо
anecdotes, so
Екатерина.
it's so
Это
difficult to
отдельный труд
interpret.
переводить
Thank you so
по-языцки
much
якобы.
to the interpreters because it takes
А,
courage.
у кого-то
Сердечко
есть...
видим, спасибо.
Да, да.
Thank you.
У кого-то есть какие-то
Do we have
предложения,
some proposals? Probably.
можно голосом.
You can unmute yourself.
Ну, сами, наверное,
Simon,
пока еще люди, может, обдумывают, да, и
maybe
собираются.
take some time to
Давайте
unmute
мы с
yourself for
тобой, как
somebody. Maybe
Соведущие.
as the
соведущие, да, значит,
co-host,
Знаешь, вот со словом «со» тоже не
co-moderator.
могу не вспомнить
You
великолепный
know,
писатель и
one more
переводчик
joke
Александр
co
Щербаков. Он в свое
with the
время
prefix co. Alexander
такой
Sherbakov,
знаменитый
he's a
россиянин
writer,
был на
a
Тридовской
translator.
конференции в
He was
Петербурге.
also participated in a
Значит,
Trees
когда
conference in Petersburg.
осуществлялась еще при
And
советском,
when there was the
Советском
problem raised,
Союзе,
in the Soviet
также
era
и за рубежом очень часто
and in other
производили
countries,
много
very
соавторов.
often there are
И вот это
different
обсуждалось,
authors for the same
например,
inventions,
совет был
and
решен
this is what was
и
discussed.
говорит
And
следующее,
so there was this Mr.
автор
Sherbakov,
и
and he
соавтор–
said,
это как
author and
гений и соперник.
co-author. This was like genius and co-genius.
ну да, созвучно.
Ну, идея совершенно правильная, что обычно
And the
главный
idea
автор
is
один,
basically
а
correct
их
because
10 человек.
usually there is only one
Ну, не
person
соглашусь.
who
Мне
can be
кажется,
called as
что
the author.
иногда,
Well, I would disagree with
Да,
you because
два-три
sometimes it
человека
takes
может
да,
быть,
a
но
team.
не
Yeah, we
10
might
и не
speak of
20.
two
может, и лучше,
people, but
наверное,
not 10, not
чуть
12,
шире
not
сказать.
20,
Говоря вот
etc. And by finalizing this webinar, I have two comments. And when I was listening to the speakers, comments one, it is obvious that trees is not a blind spot. Trees is an open science. It is an open methodology. It is a developing and growing and vivid organism. And Mr. Altshuler had also the second conclusion. I would correct myself that he created so many ideas so that some ideas failed with the course of time, but the majority of them survived, and Altshuler gave us the direction of this development. And I'm so surprised when sometimes I hear people saying, what can be developed? No, basically in every single tool, you can apply trees. Trees can help you. Trees show you where to go and what to do next. That is why this is my call to the audience. Dear colleagues, don't be shy, because you can develop your skills. We have international association, and there is a list of topics which we recommend for further development in trees. And this is also a topic, or they are topics which can be chosen for the master thesis. That is why, if you wish, if you become the master or get the mastership of trees, we can send this list out and just go for it, right? And AI is very helpful to you. So there is lots of food for thought. Simon, as the moderator, I'm not the co-host, I'm not the co-moderator, I'm the moderator here, and I would like to ask you a question. Can I? Yes, of course. Your impression. This is the first experience of such an interaction, right? And you were the founder of the summit, and now we represent two international organizations. And what do you think? Was this experience useful? Was this experience interesting in the course and in the framework of this particular webinar? Well, I would like to start with a super system, not just about this webinar. You know, I tend to unite trees movements. It happens. It happens that we got several international associations and organizations. There is Matres, Matres Official, there is European Trees Association, Ultralos Institute in the US, and we also have Tree Summit, etc. And in different countries, they also have their associations, like in India, for example. That's correct. And regional associations, they're usually a part of the bigger international associations. But what I would like to tell you is that there's a division into separate associations. It was an inevitable process. And when Altshuler passed away, this is what we see. He was such an intelligent person, and he had a very strong personality. He was brilliant and genial, and even during his lifetime, there were different splits when there was the separation from the general trees movement in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, etc. So there were different directions. It also took place during his life, but after his death, I would say, this process was strengthened, but I believe that it's useful and it makes good if we unite efforts in two directions. And this webinar is a very important thing in terms of continuation and elaborating our further work. It doesn't matter who is the inventor of new principle or a few methods in the course of summits, etc. It doesn't matter. Here we shall unite our efforts. And the second direction where we can unite our efforts, this is about the propaganda of TRIZ as well as promotion of TRIZ. But unfortunately, it's been 30 years after his death, and you saw that on the initial slides that three-fourths of the population is carried by trees, and this is not true because we don't have billions of people who are taught in trees. So we have lots of room. We have room for improvements. And when you study trees, you see that they are not the highly advanced countries in terms of technology. On the contrary, the leader is China, at least in terms of the basics and foundations. And of course, we would like to continue the development of trees and to promote it, not just to write down that there are, for example, people who know what trees is. No, we need to teach trees. We need to teach it just as school pupils study and learn literature, math as a kind of a basic course. Simon, I do apologize. I would like to add one more thing. It also matters that they're trained people, right? But what is the level of their training and what is the quality of their education and how they can perceive altruist ideas? Unfortunately, today we have to speak about these topics, and very frequently we have such situations like, yes, I know everything. I was studying very carefully. I know everything about trees. Right.
Well, Mikhail, I believe that it is the same with other sciences. We remember people studying physics at school, but if you ask a standard engineer, what do they remember from their physics course, and you will be disappointed if you ask this. The same is with maths and other disciplines. Studying these sciences, these disciplines, and it's clear, it's obvious for us that for us and for our children, the most important thing is not to give pump in knowledge, because knowledge is widely available right now. You can get it from Google, from ChatGPT, or from anywhere else. But today we need to teach children how to think, studying literature, biology, physics. This is not just pumping or stuffing your mind, your brain with knowledge, but this is the skill to think, the skill to reason, the skill to compare. So this is, I think, the main thing for any kind of teaching, and especially this is relevant for trees education, because this is really focused on the skill on how to think. So this is what AI lacks. It does not have intellect in itself. So this is why we need to remember about it, and this is the direction we need to move in. And coming back to your question, of course, we need to do that together. It's better if we do that together, because you need to hit with your knuckle, not with individual fingers. Sergey, speaking. I want to add a few comments, a few quick comments. I fully agree with this separate development of different trade association, which maybe compromises our development. We remember those different parts that can be moving in different directions, and that is counterproductive. But I see that there is this conflict of our pedagogical or education professionals versus practitioners. If we come back to the first presentation we had today at this webinar, which was about this one. So again, if I am a teacher, would it be possible for me to recite, to recall what has been told there? It was haphazard and very unclear, so it wouldn't be possible for me. So maybe we could think more about the methodology. People developing new tools, they do not think on how this will be delivered to students. So teaching people, teaching other people, which we prepare to replace us, to be our successors, it really is very much behind from what experts are up to in terms of terminology, in terms of tools, as well as the way to present. I am now reading a wonderful book. It's hard to be a genius, and I see that we do have authors of many articles, which is a very valuable book. I am reading it with pleasure. I know much about it, but again, there are many details there in these articles. And here you start to understand that Altshuler created this system for a reason, but of course it's hard to understand this reason. In 1946, he started educating teaching his methodology, his theory, and at the same time he was practicing his theory, implementing it in practice. Those webinars, seminars, workshops, they were delivered together with the development, but now we have this conflict, we have this CID, so we don't have this capacities anymore for students, for high school students. So there is this really this break or this rupture in this area, in this movement. So providing services to companies, I believe that maybe this is very far away from this preparation, so preparing people to succeed us. This is something which is lagging behind. We need to try to combine all that. I'd like to take this question. That was a comment from Sergey. It was a statement from our colleague that we have the method and education going in different directions. First of all, I don't agree with that. Second, this is not a typical situation for trees. We have it in any other disciplines. There are developers speaking their pidgin language. If you visit a scientific conference in any field, for example, if you visit a professional gathering, I'm writing a thesis in the field of acoustics. You won't understand anything which is spoken at a scientific conference, a symposium. It does not mean no one teaches that. The same is for trees. Victor Fay presented his first presentation on the development of Altshuler's ideas in the field of needs theory, and how we move from a Maslow pyramid of needs to specific consumer parameters and features, and then also to technologies and the ways to implement it. For a trees professional, in my opinion, it was very clear, it was really obvious from Victor's presentation yet for people for people thinking who didn't have this training on needs. Of course, maybe it is hard to grasp it, to understand it, because there are many terms. But here, Sergey, maybe those examples were instrumental, and Victor gave us many case studies which illustrated some methods or recommendations which he was speaking about. I feel that there is no gap here. I feel that maybe development of methods is a professional course of those people who are doing that professionally. So this is what I'm telling you about. So there is lame people, maybe for them it would be hard to understand what is spoken. As for education, yes, I feel that this is a very important area, but education is based on this method, and we are still developing the method. Its development continues in many educational centers. They train methods dating back to the 1950s, 1960s, and they do not use those more contemporary tools or more modern algorithms, more modern approaches, and this is a real issue, a real problem in the trees education field. Yes, I referred to the first speaker, Trantin. This is what I wanted. I referred to because, well, yes, I thought about you meant the very first presentation of the webinar. Sorry for that. Maybe I could comment. Yes, I just want to take the example. I worked at a plant and I still work there as a professional, and I also was a teacher. My colleagues only work at a plant and they do not teach, and this is already a dangerous situation when we need to understand who is going to prepare us, prepare our successors. So you didn't give me the chance to respond to your first question, but I'd like to do that anyway. Speaking of Rusal's experience, we stopped educating trees. This is not possible. Right now, it's not possible to do that like what we had in the 1970s, 1980s. This cannot happen any longer. You can just present some trees ideas or a part of trees methodology, or maybe you could teach some project-related activity in the company. And we have already mentioned that one of the features of trees in the 21st century is working with companies, with businesses, and for business purposes. Our teaching, our courses, training courses are very specific and individual, and they have the purpose to implement specific projects. So we have project teams working together, they have their own goals, and the training is organized for a specific task or assignment. This is the first thing. On the other hand, we work with school pupils, with college students, but also with kids from primary school. So we build this link between business tasks and those materials that we provide for children. Moreover, we also are working with the Sirius project. There is this project in Russia called Sirius. We give them specific cases on those companies that are their residents, and we provide some tools for them. This is the same with training. We organize training sessions which focuses on the experience needed for a project activity in a company.
это недостаточно масштабировано, там,
Maybe it's not a large-scale project or initiative in the field of education, maybe considering
направлено на
the focus and
экономический и производственный
focusing on business output. This is its main feature. But on the other hand, we have other people.
да, третьего, четвертого уровня, тем более
We have tier 3, tier 4 trees professionals and trees masters.
деятельность в области
If they
вот тогда
start working professionally in the trees domain,
знаний ТРИС
if this happens, we ask their general knowledge of trees and their general understanding of trees, understanding trees history. We give them
мастеров
the chance to work, to read the works of trees masters. And I am always remind of Victor Fay's
тематика, да,
work
какие-то работы.
on cinematics and other books. So there is this
Они завязаны
split here. So most of the professionals work with very narrow subjects for their projects,
конкретного результата.
for some specific results, also to develop creative thinking as one of the possible outputs.
Которые уже требуют
And also they're focusing on the professional activity, on the professional trees
полностью это представление.
domain, maybe requiring a more general understanding
Касается
of trees.
конкретно вот этого доклада по
Focusing on bipolar
да, Сергей,
principles.
да,
Yes, Sergey, indeed.
ПАТРИС идет вперед.
This trees research studies are going forward, and of course, maybe not everyone can understand what this is, what they mean by it, what they mean by having these theories. Actually, you can test all these theories working within Campino trees, all the methods, all the mathematical patterns rooted in the work. You don't need to have any training for that. Researchers need it, while any person can use it, and you can learn how to do it in 5 minutes. Yes, also I'd like to add to that. So maybe Sergey has this mixture in his head. So and again, so maybe he mixed up everything. So there is this engineer training, and there's scientist training. Scientists have never worked at a plant and we will never do so. Kids, businessmen, students, and we have Valery here, so he can confirm. So he actually trains businessmen, mostly businessmen, or non-technical specialists, teachers, doctors, journalists. I trained sci-fi writers for 2 years within a course 240 hours long, and this was a program curated by Henrik Altschuler. They were always in contact with them when we had it. You understand that this education program, training program, didn't have anything to do with an engineering course, training course. This was a specific, separate individual program, a tailored one, including CID, RTV, or CID and trees in itself. So speaking of training, does not make any sense. And of course, this depends on the target audience. Yes, thank you, Simon. This is a very clear understanding of the modern trees. Yes, Sergey, just 1 second. In the 1970s and the 1980s, we remember actually we had a general trees course, especially in the 1970s when Altschuler supervised training. This is what we had in Baku. Maybe it was different in Leningrad. So again, after that, we had this specialization for different audiences, for different volumes. Well, yes, so the question is about attracting more professionals to the trees movement. We need both teachers, trainers for trainers, and we also need professionals. Now, it's no matter who we train. I was trained by Zlotin in Chisinau. in Chisinau, and there were very many people there, including even a priest. So we really need our own people here so that we can come together for this matter. But when we start working for the market, offering our ideas as a product, when we do that, we split, undermine, compromise the trees theory. So we need to work on our talent, being able to develop our talent. We remember Altshuler, he was trying to attract other people, but when we start selling what he created, then we have the situation when there is this disconcert, but because we want to have this as like a single movement. So with that, I'd like to close. Yes, again, we have everything here. Sales has nothing to do with that, because there are a lot of programs, training programs that are free of charge altogether. One of the most important issues is that, well, yes, if we look at the Western world, and we have China and Russia living by these rules. Of course, for the business, it's important what product you sell and who you sell this product to. But when it comes to education, here money is not important at all. The content is the most important thing. Before, it was possible to have a priest, an engineer, and a student in one room and give them some training, because that was this basic education, like the core. But today it's not possible. It's not possible just to instruct physics or give a training in physics. We have physics, and we have different areas in physics. Today we are not training trees in general. We are training different parts of trees, and it's important who we train these parts to. And we need to understand that you need to have the audience which will understand your example, your case studies. If you give those examples of electric generators to a doctor or to someone else, then you won't be successful. It will be an end to the story. If you tell an electrician some examples from school essays, this won't work either. You don't need to mix that up together. There is no point in that. We work at Rusal, and if we start giving engineering tasks to engineers, they start telling us that you guys, you don't need to give us anything on mechanical engineering. Give us anything else on methodology. Maybe, well, you understand it. They start understanding that better from scratch after we start. If we add some material matter here or matter there, but for training and for this methodology training, this is what they require us to do. This is what they demand. Vladimir Gerasimov, when he started training and wanted to draw some conclusions with electric generators, and he asked a question whether there were specialists on electric generators. If there were any specialists, he decided not to draw this example. We have been working at Rusal for 8 years, so we really need to speak with them in their own language. We need to speak the same language with them, and we understand the impact there. Of course, it's not possible to do that with a free audience using such examples, because we have many aspects to any example, and with drawing such an example, we could, deep dive into a lot of details regarding the level of pressure endeavors. But when it comes to a major company, I'd like to just share this experience and adding to that, like making your comment more obvious and clearer. Engineers or some areas in the field of engineering, maybe this could develop themselves, and maybe we could like form these examples so we could draw them, use them. And it all depends on the teacher. Exactly. If we have a good teacher having good teaching skills, not understanding, but the teacher doesn't understand how this works, this could lead to a situation when they will attack him and he won't be successful in his training. That was a problem with Altschuler's books. In these books, there were many examples. Henrik Altschuler created them, invented those examples out of his head. And when in real life you see this in real life, you understand that he was really very far away from practice. When, for example, you remove the core from the tree, barn from the tree. We remember some example from his books when you put ferromagnetic substance liquid on the tree, and then after that you use a magnet to remove that. But when we visited the lumber production facility and remembered the electromagnetic liquid and electric magnets, we understood that again Henrik Altschuler had never visited such a site, had never seen anything like that. Well, I spoke to Altschuler about it, and there were questions. I actually received this question, and I transferred this question to Altschuler. These questions were very obvious. They are still there. We still hear them, and they are about those patents. So most of the patents he refers to are not viable. Of course, not all of them, but many of these patents are not viable. For example, those inventor certificates, as we had them at the time, they are impractical. But they were good to illustrate those ideas and thoughts and those methods Altschuler wanted to showcase. This is the most important thing. So he wanted to underline that these certificates were approved. He could not be a specialist in all domains. He just wanted to have these certificates to confirm his examples. The most important point is not that that you can use these inventions at a plant or somewhere else. For him, it was important is to show that there is this Matryoshka or Russian doll with this invention. So he introduced this model level. Yes, indeed. If we see that there is an idea and something to illustrate it, they stop hearing. So there is this psychological effect out of all this. For 30 years of work in the West, we have removed all these standard examples from Altschuler's book, teaching examples. We don't use them. We only use real examples from real practice implemented in practice and patented in many cases. But having a patent is really not relevant because like having 96% of patents were never implemented in practice. I'm still thinking on this topic. This is still quite relevant, and for me, the conclusion is that when you don't do this homework, when you don't dive deep into each example, if you don't spend like a couple of months on how it works, if this hadn't been the case, Altschuler wouldn't have been able to create this framework. Having this framework of knowledge, theories, and other matters If it was not for the Altschuler, then it wouldn't have been possible for him to do that so easily with those examples, patterns, generalizations, which he managed to perform. Just once again, I receive a lot of questions. I just want to repeat that both the video of the webinar and the presentation will be available in our websites, 100 GCA and 3 Summit websites, and maybe and some other information resources. Maybe you should also record the discussion. You'll only record the presentations. No, we're still recording, colleagues. I haven't stopped the recording. No, I'm still recording. Both presentations and discussions are recorded. Thank you, Mikhail, for that. In many cases, discussions turn out to be really more important than presentations. Thank you for bringing up the topic, which we have just discussed on the realistic nature of those examples. Again, it depends on the subject. So this is what we have there in the chat box. So comments are still there. A few words from my side to recap, to wrap up. And first of all, I would like to thank all the participants for their inputs once again. And I'd like to thank Matriz Official for supporting our idea, for their support to host the joint webinar. Once again, I can confirm that Altschuler still unites all of us, and I hope that he will be successful in doing that going forward, to combine our efforts, working together. I feel that the format of the webinar was quite relevant. We don't have enough time at our standard conference to have all these inputs, long inputs, and there is not enough time for discussions and for real good presentations. Such webinars in such a format, I believe, with this format of presentations and discussions, are really quite relevant and valuable. Once again, colleagues, I'd like to extend this suggestion. If you have any ideas on hosting individual webinars or similar webinars similar to this one, related to the discussion of various authors discussing the same topic or interrelated topics, don't hesitate. Please reach out. We will be able to help you to host such webinars and implement your ideas.
And to have webinars in such a format. So what you are mentioning here, there are also additional formats. For example, for the third year TRIS official, they call it as the TRIS Methodology Forum. This is the forum on methodology, and there we choose at this particular webinar, we can speak on every topic, and there we choose only one topic which relates to TRIS, and to every speaker we give an hour of time for the discussion. So this is a very detailed and a very profound discussion of one important topic. This year, we are going to discuss so-called secondary tasks. And we all know that there are brilliant ideas which came from trees. And when you start implementing the idea, you face, for example, it doesn't work here. Okay, the idea is good, but this is the secondary task for us, and we need to sort it out. Yes, that's right. I just would like to tell to the participants of the webinar and to invite them. And on the website, the Trees of Matrix official, the information about the Trees Methodology Forum, and our diverse participants can join this work, right? We have an event dedicated to the anniversary of Mr. Altula, and if this is the event which you are preparing, and if it is not a webinar, as far as I understand, you are going to see each other face to face. No, it is also an online event, a webinar. Right. It is in line with what I was saying. Yes, you can find the details in the chat. Please find there the link. Once again, we invite you. We would like to collaborate with you, and it would be great to have you as participants, not only to the members of the Matrix official, but any member of any organization. Right, I do apologize, and this was the proposal, and I have to repeat my idea once again. I said once that this is not about the advertisement of works, the works which were planned and scheduled. My idea is that if you have such a wish and you would like to come up with new proposals, new ideas, and you would like to discuss the topic which we discussed, for example, in the course of this webinar, the new proposals we are going to collect and we are going to support your initiatives. Speaking of the topic of Victor Fay on new products, there were so many questions, and the same was about the lines of development. There is a necessity to continue elaborating these topics. And if we are going to see such requests, we, of course, will support them. Now I'm mentioning new initiatives. I think that we can summarize and we can finish our